Give me this. Give me that. Give me this. Give me that.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to this 4th edition of PocaTV Live, that monthly program in which I speak with my fabulous friends all across the globe and share with you the wonderful stuff they do to make this a better world for all of us to live in. Apologies for being a little bit late. We had some technical problems, which is always the case when you have a really important show coming up. So my name is Poca, which stands for People of Common Attitude, but you might also know me by this name, Aldit Hunkar, or any other name. It doesn't really matter what you call me, as long as you're watching now. So Poca stands for People of Common Attitude, like I was saying, and it means that I talk to people who have an outlook on life that I can fully endorse, because they are not thinking only about themselves, but also about society at large. I expect with today's guest, I have many viewers who are watching for the first time. Welcome to all of you. Also, big fat welcome to all my regular watchers, and welcome to the people who are tuning in later who couldn't make it to the live edition. It's okay as long as you watch it. So for the new people, let me explain to you that these live broadcasts I will forever be livicating to my youngest sister, Aisha, who sadly passed away 10 years ago. Last Wednesday was that day that we commemorated those 10 years. Aisha was my bestie. She was a person really close to my heart, and she always believed the best could come out of any situation. And in that vein, she had this vision for PocaTV Live way before going live online was even a technical option. So this is why I will always be dedicating these shows to Aisha. Never, ever forgotten. Looking at this picture of her reminds me of that night. She was already quite sick, but Aisha loved to sing. And she went out for a night in Zaandam where she performed with a band. And in true Jamaican style, because she loves Jamaica, she loved Jamaica just as much as I do, she started behind the scenes. She was behind the curtain when she started singing, and we were just all there watching. And suddenly her voice came through, giving us all goose pimples because it was so powerful. And then in the way that only Aisha could, she made her grand entry and of course had us all in tears and in laughter. And it was a wonderful night, which I will never forget. Aisha would have also really loved me talking to my guest tonight. I am sure if she had been around long enough, she would have been one of the very first people to join the movement that my special guest tonight has started. So Aisha, wherever you are right now in the great assembly in the skies, I know you are watching, and I know you are enjoying it as much as I already am now. So thank you again for everything, Aisha. You are always in our hearts. So I always start these shows with a little clip from the guest I had the month before. In this case, it's quite funny because my guest said something which really applies to my guest this evening. Last month, at the end of March, my guest was Uwe Banton, my German Rasta friend, and this is one of the many wonderful things that he had to say.
Don't be afraid, to think for yourself, don't be afraid to think, to observe and to speak your mind, and don't be afraid to be bold.
Yes. And to choose your path.
To choose your path, and
yes.
and also be wise, because we have to be very wise in this time, and don't just follow anything. Don't follow anything and anybody. Learn to listen, to that little voice that is inside of you, and which is life in itself.
So like I was saying, Uwe Banton's words last month really do apply to my guest this evening, this day, whatever time it is in your corner of the globe. Usually in these programs, I bring the outside world to the Netherlands, but today I am bringing the Netherlands to the outside world, because we in the Netherlands have this person who has a story to tell that really is very inspiring to everybody with a heart. Let's put it that way. Her story is wonderful. It's not really from rags to riches, because I don't believe that rags were involved, but it is certainly the story from dancer to national politician in the Netherlands, brand new. Welcome, Sylvana Simons. Sylvana,
Hi,
you are
Aldous.
hearing me very late.
Hi, Aldous, and hi, everybody watching.
Welcome, Sylvana. You must be totally
I just want to say,
exhausted. Go ahead.
I am kind of exhausted because, as you know, and not everybody, as you know, I've spent half of my night last night debating in Parliament. I think we finished the debate at 3 a.m. So yes, today was a bit, I felt like I went to a festival.
Yes. Oh, yes. In those old days when festivals were still a thing we used to go to. I did watch you last night in Parliament. It was kind of boring, and the outcome was really, really disgusting, but never mind. You were doing your work. Sylvana, there are people out there in the Netherlands who all know you, but there are also people watching in the world who don't. And to get them up to speed on who you are, here is a quick profile that was made for you, about you, by Al Jazeera. And this was when you were campaigning for the elections that we had in March that got you your one seat in Parliament. Let's just have a look at that clip from Al Jazeera together.
Stormy weather in Amsterdam did little to deter Dutch parliamentary candidate Sylvana Simons. A well-known former TV star, Simons entered politics 5 years ago. Her party, Bijeen, is campaigning to end racism and inequality in the Netherlands.
Yeah, we need to stop it because, we are all equal, and therefore everyone is entitled or deserve the same rights.
Simons came to the Netherlands as a baby from the former Dutch colony of Suriname. She says that the image of the Netherlands as an inclusive society is far from reality. She's unsurprised by the rise of far-right parties.
We've been served politics that say, be afraid of everybody that doesn't look like you. It's been going on for 20 years. It's not something that just came up. This is a right-wing country. We have to accept that.
For Simons and her party, more diversity in mainstream national politics is essential to help change attitudes in the Netherlands and help end what she calls institutionalised racism. Prime Minister Mark Rutte's hoping to be elected for a fourth term, despite his centre-right government resigning in January after a child benefit scandal. Tens of thousands of people were wrongly accused of fraud. The majority were immigrant families targeted by the tax office.
Prime Minister was convicted in 2007 for racism and discrimination. Yet after that he became Prime Minister, and he has been for over 10 years. So this is how institutionalized it is.
Simons knows that her party is unlikely to win the election, but she hopes to become the first black woman party leader to win a Dutch parliamentary seat. For her supporters, that would be a huge victory and a sign that the winds of change may be blowing. Natasha Butler, Al Jazeera, Amsterdam.
Well, Sylvana, I think it's safe to say that the winds of change are indeed blowing now, because you did get that seat in Parliament, the one, but it's a start. And you've made a flying start, which we definitely will discuss today. But this is freestyle journalism, as you know, so I like to start where it all started. So that's exactly what we'll be doing. We'll be going way back to the early days. Who is this little girl we are seeing here?
Oh, wow. Well, that's me. I think I must have been 4 or 5 years old. It's a very iconic picture in a sense that is not special at all. I think every Black person, maybe just every person in this country, has a picture in the center of Amsterdam feeding the pigeons at the dam, a big square that we have in the city. And it's
Yeah.
very much a 70s iconic picture because, you know, this is what we used to do. I think it must have been about 2 years after we arrived in the Netherlands because I was born in Suriname, as you've just heard, and I spent my early years in Amsterdam.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about that. How did you get to come here? Explain once again for the people who don't understand the link between the Netherlands and Suriname, where both of us are from. Explain it again, just shortly.
Well, Suriname used to be a Dutch colony up until 1975. This is the link, and Suriname is a very interesting country as it's populated by many different ethnic groups that all came to the country when it was colonized by different colonizers. It's been in the Portuguese hands, in the British hands, and it finally ended in the Dutch hands, who traded Suriname, which is a fun fact, for New York. That's why you see a lot of Black people in the Netherlands are originated from Suriname, and we still have a special bond because it's a very small community. All of us have family over there, so a lot of us travel there regularly, and it will be forever a bond. We call it a shared history, and that means we are forever stuck with each other.
Yes, and let me just add to that this colonial bond made us Dutch citizens, whether we wanted to or not. I need to really stress that point because this is one of the things that
exactly
right-wing Dutch people seem to think we need to go back to our own country, and we have to keep telling them that this is our own country. Okay, a little leap forward. These
I always say all this.
Go ahead.
I always say that we are here because you were there. This is the quickest way for me to explain. The country became independent in 1975. So right before that year, a lot of us came here thinking that if that was our home country, then at least this was our grandfather's country. You know, at least we had some connection to this country. So yes, very much connected, I think, forever.
Yes, yes. I apologize to the viewers that the sound and the image isn't exactly what I would like it to be, but we have to be happy for having Sylvana with us today. Try not to move so much, Sil. A picture of, I think that must be mom and dad.
I will try. Definitely
this is
mom and dad and myself. I think.
You know what, Sylvana? I'm going to ask.
This picture was made.
I'm going to ask you to just remove your headphone. We tried many things, but I think this headphone is giving us a lot of trouble. Can you just pull it out from your device and we'll try without? While you're just right where you are now. This is freestyle. We do things live. Just pull out the plug as well, my dear. Okay. Are you hearing me now?
I am. Can you hear me?
Actually, I'm hearing you better. So.
Perfect. Let's do this then.
Let's do this and tell us about mom and dad. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think this picture was taken in Germany. We used to have a lot of family friends in Germany, and we used to travel there a lot. As you can see, I have beautiful parents, basically. My mom and dad came to this country in 1972. They met in Suriname. I was conceived there. I was born there. And then we spent my early years in Amsterdam, as I said. My father was a bit older than my mother. So I always looked up to him as this tall man that, you know, was a bit far from me, because I have to tell you, I have to explain to you about my family. I am the youngest for both my parents. However, I'm the youngest of 2 when it comes to my mother, but I am the youngest of 16 when it comes to my dad. So my dad had lived a life, you could say, before he met my mother, but it would turn out to be that they would spend the rest of their life together, and have been together my whole life, for as long as my dad lived. He passed almost 25 years ago, but this is how I grew up, as an only child, with 2 loving parents.
With 2 loving parents, yes. And I know that you still have this really warm bond with your mom.
I do.
And she's still with us, thankfully. What kind of mother do you have? Because we all know that the daughters take after the mothers, and I know you a little bit, Sylvana. So I'm wondering about your mother. What
Well,
kind
it's
of
funny-
person?
It's funny you should say that, because I wished I took more after my mother. My mother is such a kind-hearted, caring woman that sometimes I wish I had more of those qualities. She's always caring for something or somebody, whether it's a family member or just anybody. And one thing I'm really grateful for getting from my mom is the notion that it's very much okay to be an ambitious woman and to be an all-round woman. I always say that, even though I don't really know what it means, but my mom taught me that you can have a career, take care of your family, always look gorgeous, and just have a kind heart. So yes, I still have a very close bond with her, and it gets closer and closer. The older I get, I think that's something you would probably recognize, that as we grow more into each other and find each other more, we became closer and closer. And I'm just blessed that I still have her. And I do consider her my friend.
Yes, I know what that feels like. I have the same with my mother. Is yours by any chance watching? I know my mother is. Hi, Mom. Is your
No,
mom watching?
I don't think she is. I have to be really honest. My mother is a caretaker, and I'm sure she's just taking care at the moment
Yeah,
of somebody.
of
So
somebody.
I will send her the link, because I always do, and she always gets upset if I don't inform her. So I will definitely make sure she gets to watch this.
Okay, at some what is it, quiet time in life.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and she was doing your hair, and there's one thing that people in the Netherlands, your haters, because you have a lot of haters. We'll get to talk about that.
Yeah.
But your haters are always saying that you spent your life looking for a rich white man to marry, and I wonder if this was the first one that
No, that picture is funny. It's my cousin.
is your cousin.
This was the wedding day of my mom's little brother getting married, and this was her little brother. So this was, let's say, a cousin. I don't know how you say this in English. We married into family.
Right. So he's
So-
not by blood, but you're still linked.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I really have to say, I haven't spoken to him in years. I do not know if he's rich by now. And I also really don't think that, well, never mind.
Never mind.
Never mind. No, this was family at the time. Yeah.
Okay. That's how these Caribbean families are, right? You got all colors, all sizes, all
Exactly.
types.
And
And
it's
that,
funny picture. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's a funny picture to me, because we were always fighting, always fighting. He was always picking on me, and I was always picking on him. And this was the one day he was so happy, because this was the one day we had to be friendly to each other. So this was probably one of the best days of his life. Little Richard. His name is Richard.
Richard, hi Richard.
Yeah.
I hope you're watching at some point. We are not taking the mickey out of you. We're taking you very seriously. Very seriously.
Absolutely. It's all in good love.
It is. And then the last picture in this batch that we'll be watching, here is you at the Beat Club. What's the Beat Club, Sylvana?
I think this is where my career started, you know?
Really?
I really think so. This was a club where every week, all of us girls, these are all girls from the neighborhood where I grew up in Amsterdam, and we would go there and dance. And we would do playback shows, and every year there was a big playback show, a lip syncing contest. And it's really funny, because I found this picture recently on the internet on Facebook, and somebody posted it and said, "Oh, wasn't that the competition that where every year Sylvana Simons won the competition?" So I really have to, because it's true. I was such a fanatic dancer. I never became a great singer, but I loved lip syncing. So what you're seeing here is me and my best friend Janine acting as 6 singers. We were a group called the Dolly Dots. They're a Dutch girl group, had international success at the time, and they were 6. But we didn't have 6 friends that were good enough. So it was just the 2 of us. And my mom sewed our little outfits. My grandmother knitted our little hats. And we won.
Of course you did. Of course you won. There's this little, what shall I say, a little black elephant in a very white elephant group there. This was your life, you being the only person of color in a group of white people. This is how you grew up, I suspect.
Absolutely. This is how a lot of us grew up in the Netherlands. Also, I think my mom and dad made a significant choice when we came here. A lot of people who came from Suriname were located in the same area called Southeast. And I think my mom and dad deliberately said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to go to a different part of town. Even though there was a lot of color in the neighborhood, outside of the school, it was very white, and it would continue to be very white in my life for years.
So this must have meant that you grew up thinking white, living white, did it?
It's so funny because I think the first time I've always known I'm black. I mean, I look in the mirror, I see a black woman. I never had no doubts about it. My whole family's black. You just saw my dad. He's probably the blackest man I know, along with my brothers. And being black as an identity was never the issue, but it took a very long time for me to realize that there was something special about being black. And the first time I really, really, really realized, I must have been 14, 15 years old when I really realized what being black meant.
So what did it mean to you at that time?
I started to realize that it's more than the color of my skin. Growing up black in this country means growing up, let me put it differently. Growing up non-white in this country means that you are always living within, there's an outside world and there's an inside world. At home, within the family, of course, we're all black in our all different shades of black. The outside world, school, or as you just saw, my free time, the things I love to do for a hobby, that was always a white environment. And my dad used to try and explain to me that I am black and I need to understand that being black means something in a political sense or in a societal sense. And I really had to get to puberty to understand, because there's this funny phenomenon. I don't know if it's just the Netherlands or if it's globally, but when you're black and you're a child, you're considered cute. Cute. When I was little, my mom used to walk the street with me, and people would say,
people wanted to pinch your cheeks,
they want to pinch your cheek, and they want to
touch your hair,
you know, frizzy curls and stuff.
Yeah.
But then as you grow up, you find that society has a fixed view on blackness, on black women, on black people in general, and this requires certain life strategies to survive.
Yeah.
And my dad was always trying to explain those to me, but as a child, I thought, what is this guy talking about? You know, I'm just a kid. So it took me to get to puberty to really understand that, okay, I am going to be judged by my blackness, and I'm going to, and because of that, I'm going to have to prove myself maybe a little bit more than my white friends and my white girlfriends. And also I realized that I have a responsibility because my actions reflect upon every black person in the country. And this was before I was even known or anything. Yes.
So this means you had to prove everything twice. You had to be double great at what you did. You had to be patient. You had to be smiling. Never a frown, Sylvana, never a frown, because people are alarmed by that. And this, I imagine, shaped you in a certain way. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Let's go to this period in your life. This is you as a teenager. In fact, the one on the left, Sylvana, you actually remind me of my sister Aisha. She had that same look in her eye. But what kind of teenager am I seeing, except for one with really bad taste in shoes?
Thank you. I actually love them. I wish I still had them.
I always love watching shoes from 2 decades ago. What kind of teenager were you? This must have been Michael Jackson kind of time.
Definitely.
Mm.
This was puberty hitting. We moved from Amsterdam to a little town called Horen. Again, white environment. And some of these pictures were taken, well, I think all of them were taken while we were living there. And the one where I have my arms up was taken on a summer camp, a creative summer camp. I used to go to summer camp every year, either to ride horses or do theater or something sporty or creative.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is me walking the city of Horen with my best friend, because every year we had a big carnival in the city. And it was
really?
it was the time when you had to show yourself and be seen. And look, just absolutely smashing. Can I just say,
Yeah,
this was the
I do
fashion
agree.
at the time.
I know you. I mean, you're always. We know you are a fashionista. We love you for that, because every day we thinking what you're going to wear today, and then you always surprise us. So, but these are happy memories of teenage times.
Definitely happy memories,
Yeah.
because it was a time where my creativity started to really find its way into my life permanently. I started dancing at an early age, and I started horse riding, just doing all kinds of creative stuff. And they are great memories, but they are also memories of a time where I was just, I mean, how much of a teenager can you be?
Well, tell us.
I was rebellious. I was impatient to get to know the world and everything it had to offer. So I was a bit of a rough child. I loved the streets, basically.
Yes.
And this did not go well with my very strict Surinamese parents. So it was a time of rebellion, finding myself. And it's funny because, as you can see in the pictures, I have short hair. And this may not seem like a big deal, but at the time it was such an act of rebelliousness.
Yeah.
To say, I'm going to cut my beautiful, my beautiful natural hair. I had to fight to get permission to do it.
Yeah.
And I've been wearing short hair for probably 20 or 30 years after that. So that's very typical of who I am. If everybody wants long hair, I'll probably do short.
That rings a bell with me, because I do remember one time when I had really long hair and I cut it off really short, and my father would just not speak with me. He said he disowned me. He had nothing to do with me for a while after that.
My mom cried.
Also did mine. Sorry about that, Mom. I know you're watching. Yeah. Sorry about that. But you're telling us, Sylvana, you were a rough child. And you wanted to taste life, which you did. So at a very young age, this is what happened.
Your two children. Yes, I had my children. Well, I left home very early. One time I had an argument with my dad, and like every parent in the world, my dad made the mistake to tell me, if you don't like it here, find somewhere else where you will like it. And I thought, what a great idea. So I left Horen, this little town that we'd moved to, and I went back to Amsterdam, because that's where it was all happening.
What age are we talking about? How old were you?
14 years old.
That's really young.
That's really young. But I went and stayed with family at first, so that was safe. Because I really I had already decided I wanted to be a dancer and I wanted to be a performer. And I felt that everything and everybody that was not working towards that goal was hindering me. So I went to Amsterdam. I went to dance school, and I started dancing in school, but also outside of school when I got older, and I started working in the nightlife. So I started working in clubs, dancing in clubs, then dancing with artists. So you can just imagine what type of girl I was. And the picture we're seeing now, the one in the white blouse, I think I must have been 16 years old or something.
Wow.
Life happened for me. I was walking the street in Amsterdam, just coming out of the station, and this guy said, oh, I'm a photographer. Can I do some pictures? If my daughter came home and told me this story, I would freak out. But I said, yeah, what a great idea. So we went and we did those pictures, and I started building a portfolio and start basically building my career in entertainment. And I, if you don't mind going back to the previous picture, at the age of 21, I became a mother of my son.
Yes.
And at the age of 25, I think, I became the mother of the cute one, in the purple coat, and that's my daughter. She'll be 25 this year, and my son just turned 29. And also, obviously, I'm going to mention it because, you know, every opportunity I can.
Don't yet. We'll come to that. I know what you're going to
it's
say.
a surprise. Okay.
It's a little surprise because that's something nobody would expect. We'll get to that. We certainly will. So here you are, this young woman discovering life, getting to know, getting out into the world. And then you were discovered at some point by this new television station that was starting, an MTV kind of station, but the Dutch version called TMF. That's the picture on the right, you with two of the other girls. There were four of you, I seem to remember.
Eventually. We started out, the three of us. This picture was taken at the press day of an announcement that this new TV station was being started. And I've been one of the lucky ones to have landed a job there. And it's also a funny story because I was discovered as a dancer being pregnant with my son. So this television producer, I was doing a performance. I was 3 months pregnant. I was doing a performance as a background dancer for a singer on a TV show. And afterwards, the producer came up to me and said, "Oh, you know, with all due respect, we love the singer, but the camera keeps wanting to, you know, to look at you. Why don't you come and audition?" I said, "Well, you know, I'm kind of 4 months pregnant now. You can't really tell, but please let me have the baby first." So after the pregnancy and when everything got, you know, back in shape, I went and did the audition, and I didn't hear anything for 2 years. I did not hear a thing. So I had already forgotten about it. And then 2 years later, the phone rang. Some lady said, "Look, I'm such and such a secretary. We have your tape here from 2 years ago, and we just want you to come and be a part of this new adventure." And it really was an adventure because nothing like that had ever been done in the Netherlands before. We started out with the three of us. Eventually more girls and guys obviously came to join the team. And in the Netherlands, we are quite the phenomenon because to this day, you know what's funny? Can I share a funny story with you and everybody?
Sure.
I'm in Parliament now, as you just shared. And one of the ministers, Minister of Healthcare, came to me the other day and he said, "It's so awkward. I used to look at you when I was young, and I'm such a fan. And now, and it's really, and it felt so awkward because I thought, okay, that's all well and good, but it's been 25 years, and I'm here to crush the system, and you're part of the system. So please don't look at me as this teenage idol that I may have at some point been." So it was really a phenomenon. It really meant something in the entertainment industry.
That's funny. This is, I'm going to name and shame him. This is Minister Hugo de Jonge you're talking about, the guy who likes shoes.
Yes.
Shoes are becoming an item in this program. So it's good to know that he really admires you. Keep that in your pocket, Sylvana. You never know when you might need it. You did irritate him a lot last week, but maybe we'll get to that later on. Let's see, where are we? This TMF time, I have a really short clip that I want to share from that time. Let me see where it is. It's right here. This is you at TMF talking to the greats in the world.
Because, you know, we want to get to know a little bit more about Brandy and also talk about your new album, Never Say Never.
I want to do that.
Yeah. Thank you for spending some of your time with us. There are a lot of things that people already know about LL Cool J.
Yeah, LL Cool J, Brandy. I believe you interviewed even, what's her name? Jackson.
Everybody.
What's her name?
From Mariah Carey,
Janet Jackson. Yes.
Janet Jackson to Will Smith, LL Cool J, everybody who was somebody at that time in the Black entertainment industry. I was lucky enough to interview.
Right.
It was such a gift because I created that for myself. When I got the job, my boss said, "What would you like to do?" And I said, "I'd like to do some urban music, some Black music, because that's my music." And he said, "Well, go ahead." And then, you know, again, everybody
just jumped on it because at the time, we must tell people, not many Dutch people spoke English or had the empowerment to speak English. So these little jobs came to people like you and me, and you were there being fabulous, as we can tell, and talking to all the greats in the world. So this is the vision that the Netherlands have of you when you started out, when you became this famous person that you are now. And this is the time when everybody still really loved you and respected you and wanted to be your friend.
Definitely.
All right. So in that period, you did an interview, which I'm going to share now, if I can find it quickly. Hold on for me just a second. This was
is
you.
so exciting. I don't know what this is so exciting.
I know. This is freestyle journalism.
I love it.
This is you when you were already famous and you had found your place in society as an artist, as a television host, as an entertainer. Let's have a look together.
Personal branding to me is a way of making sure that you live by your true values and making sure that that's what you project to everybody you either work with or encounter in one way or another. To be a brand is kind of a weird thing, even though I think that everybody who's engaging in any type of business is a brand. But when you become aware of it, you need to always check yourself. Am I living the true values of my brand? Am I being true to myself? And is that what I project to other people? Being a brand is not very different from just being your true self.
Do you find yourself to be consistent from then to now with what you say? Yeah. Do you remember when this was actually filmed with you? Branded You?
Nah, Branded You must have been about maybe 10 years ago. Something like that.
Right.
And it was filmed as an introduction to a lecture or course I had the opportunity to give mainly to women. And I do think that I spoke truth right there, because this is what all brands do. Brands, when they are created, they create identity. But we are born with identity. And for me, it's always meant that something that would characterize my brand would be authenticity and always just following, the beat of your heart and making sure that I'm stuttering now because there's so much.
It's all right. It's okay. It's live.
What I'm trying to say is, my answer is yes, even though I'm very much convinced that we don't stay the same person throughout life. So yes, as long as you are true to yourself, your brand will always be an authentic brand, and you will find that the identity or the way you express your identity changes. But I think I can honestly say that from the time I was a little girl, I've always just followed my heart, and this has worked for me. And it's very interesting because even a year ago, some agency did a survey on the how much of the people from TMF are still known and people still associate them with what they did. And I came from the women. I came up top because I've always been Sylvana.
Right.
So I think that works.
In fact, if you were to ask me the names of the two that we saw earlier with you, I wouldn't remember. The only one I remember is Bridget, who's still in television, but I have no idea what the other two were called.
Exactly. And this is what I mean. Bridget, obviously, that was the fourth lady to join us.
Yes.
And the other two, Isabel and Fabienne, I still talk to them. We're still good friends, and we still reminisce about something that we've all experienced, which was so special.
It was very special. It was a very exciting time.
Can I just say something though?
Sure.
About how I came to be inspired also to become an entertainer and work in television, because not everybody will know this, but you were a big inspiration. We did not know each other at the time, but I used to watch you on television, you and people like Gilly Koster in the Netherlands and Yvette Forster in the Netherlands. And from seeing you, I realized, hey, that is something I could do.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're giving me credits here, so thank you.
You played a major part in the mess we're in, Aldit.
In the mess we are in, but we're still doing our own thing. So that's a great thing. Thank you for those credits.
Authenticity. I've never admired people who are a character as such. I admire people who are themselves, and so thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying it out loud. It really touches my heart. Let me have a quick look in the comments section, because my goodness, it's. Can you see? If you look in the right side of your screen, you can possibly see the all the people present. For example, my sister friend in Jamaica, Kabu Ma'at Karu, who is a journalist extraordinaire. Look at what she's saying. She's present.
Great.
And love to you. And look, you beautiful and visionary sister. That's exactly right. Thank you, Kabu, for being here. My brother, who would never, ever miss a program. Congrats on your maiden speech yesterday.
Thank you so much.
Which was fantastic, actually. Who else is here? Let me see. Charlotte is saying two favorite power women in one screen. And here is Michel Schep, which we all know. He's watching you in the Tweede Kamer. In Parliament, he means he sees somebody who cares a lot about how things go. I know you want to react to this.
It means a lot to me to hear this, because, you know, I hope that that is what I project, because that is what I feel. I always say to people, I was comfortable being a TV presenter, a host, just an entertainer, and as we call BN'er, which just means celebrity.
Yes.
So for me to enter politics, which is not the most glamorous of fields to work in, it is because I care. I always say I have a lot of things I could have chosen to do. Like I said, I'm a creative person. I'll find something to do always.
Yeah.
But I do care, and I do think it's important, the time that we are living in, not just in the Netherlands, but globally. We really need a few changes. So it's very nice to be recognized and appreciated. So thank you.
Yes. Yeah, give us quickly, just with one sentence, 3 large things that need to change in the world as we live it now.
Well, there's the climate. That's number one. That concerns all of us. Then there's division, social division, economical division, societal division. We have a group of haves and have-nots, and the division is growing. I always use the word equality. To get there, we need equity. That's a different story. But we need to understand that the only way all of us are going to survive as a species is if we start sharing honestly. So our creed within the party that I founded is equity and justice. Equality and justice, that's basically all we need.
This makes many people quite nervous, and I believe that is because they think by becoming more equitable and more just, that they need to surrender part of what they have now. The question is, do they?
Well, some of them do. Bluntly. Some of them do. We see a small group of people hoarding wealth and resources, and it's just not fair. And it's, in the long run, it's not going to save them either. But obviously, when you're accustomed to privilege, you know, equality seems like an injustice, which is definitely not true. But we're seeing it happen now with Corona and the vaccines. You know, we have to understand that if we hoard the cure, then the pandemic is not going to change. It's not going to leave us. We need we need to share with all of the world so we can all get rid of it. So this is a principle that scares a lot of people, but the good news is more and more people are starting to understand, and more people are starting to understand that the reason they're scared is because they think they are part of that group that has.
Right.
But in reality, it'll turn out to be that they're not. When we talk about redistributing wealth, a lot of people who own a house, for instance, are like, hello, this is my health, my wealth. I worked hard for it. We live in a society that makes a lot of us think that, you know, we are part of the chosen few, when in reality, no, we are not. And we share a common, by lack of a better word, economical enemy.
So the few that you mentioned are really few. Really
few.
This is like Mr. Shell, Mr. KLM, Mr. Exactly. They're all Misters, by the way.
Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. All right. A quick look in the comments here. Zinedine, I know he's watching together with Rivan Lecor. Interesting. Stay doing what you do now. Well, we're exactly going to do that. A little switch. I like to switch things around, Sylvana. I have a segment in this program called On the Spot, in which I ask you 5 nasty questions and you're not allowed to elaborate. And I know you love to elaborate. All my guests love to elaborate. but I'm not going to let you. You just need to choose, and at the end of the 5, you can tell me which 2 you would like to elaborate on. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay, question number 1. Are you a diva or a wallflower?
A diva.
Question number 2. Would you rather be a dancer or a politician?
Really? This is a tough one. This is one I will elaborate on later, please.
Okay. But what do you choose now?
Dancer.
I thought so. Number 3. Number 3. The Netherlands are hopelessly lost. Yes or no?
Yes.
Really? Okay. Number 4. Prime Minister Simons, a great or horrible idea?
Great idea. Elaborate, please.
Okay, that's your 2, okay? And the last one. This is the one that always gets my guests. What is the one thing that you would never, ever, ever do again?
Wow. The one thing I would never ever. Can it be a person?
Up to you.
No. I really have no regrets. And I've done a lot of things I should not do again. But they were either fun to do or they taught me a great lesson. So it's really difficult to answer this question.
Okay.
Would I have been the woman I am today if I hadn't done them?
Right.
Let's say I'd do it all again.
Exactly the same way that you did it now.
Probably.
And there's no one place that you would say, you know what? In retrospect, maybe I could have done it in a smarter way or an easier way or a better way. No?
Oh, definitely. But I don't know if that would have taught me the lessons I have learned today, which really now give me all this knowledge and wisdom about life. And it really helps me, again, being the person who I am and being the politician that I am. So
right.
I really think
you keep it the way it is.
Some people that I would avoid in a next life. You know, I would say like, nah, thanks for the compliment, but we're not having coffee. Maybe that. But
name two. No, don't. No. Okay, so I'll let you elaborate on this one, but you still have a right to elaborate on 2. The one about dancer or politician. What would you like to say about that?
Tough question, because being a politician is a very sincere and profound way to attribute to the world, and it makes me. I feel blessed that I'm able to do it. But being a dancer, I think, is the greatest feeling in the world. Being a dancer brought me so much. That to me is about life and breathing. And I mean, I still dance in my living room, not every day, but weekly. So if I could be a dancer, if I could be a politician but never dance, I would have to say no, thank you.
Wow. Okay.
Dancing
So politician is you giving to the world, and dancer is you feeding yourself. Is that a correct assumption?
Beautifully said. That's exactly how I feel. Yeah.
I try. What was the other one? Was this Prime Minister Simons? Was that the one that you said you wanted to elaborate on?
Yes, because it's a bit onbescheiden. What's the English word?
Distinguished.
To distinguish, maybe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Arrogant, maybe, to say, oh, I should be prime minister, and it's not something I would want to do within the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. But I think that eventually, if I would have the opportunity to take the values that I uphold politically, as a human being, as a mother, as a woman, and incorporate them in leading the country into a society that works for everybody, because that's my dream, a society that works for everybody based on equality, justice, and solidarity. This is my dream. So if I would have a chance to do that, and looking at a big influence, somebody I really admire, which is our Prime Minister in New Zealand,
Jacinda Ardern, yes.
If I would be honored to be called to do it that way, I definitely would.
Now, wouldn't that be the day in the Netherlands?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Not yet, though. There's no rush.
So this takes us to the next phase in your life, because as we mentioned earlier, so far so good. Here you were on this rising ladder and being a good girl because you weren't annoying many people at the time. You weren't vocal yet about the politics that you now vocalize really readily. But there was a day when you did, and it started out with the blackface tradition that we have in the Netherlands. Zwarte Piet, let me just quickly do a recap. Zwarte Piet is this blackface figure that belongs to year-end festivities called Sinterklaas and Zwarte Piet. And at a certain point, Black people in the Netherlands started saying, look here, we've been asking for decades, can we stop with this blackface figure and celebrate this in a different way? This is all that anybody ever asked, but there've been demonstrations you've been part of, and this is the time when you started getting haters. How did that go?
Well, there was the moment I started expressing my feelings about this blackface character or anything to do with racism, sexism publicly, which I'd never done before, and that was a deliberate choice because I was an entertainer. I was they used to call me before they used to call me the Dutch Queen of R&B, and then they used to call me the exotic fruit from Suriname. But the moment I started addressing this subtle or not so subtle racism, obviously there went my popularity.
Yes.
This was not my role. And going back to the beginning of our conversation, this was what my dad was talking about.
Right.
My dad said, be careful, because as a Black woman, you do not have the same right to success. You do not have the same right to fail. And you are to play a certain part in society.
And what was that part, according to your dad?
In my case, being in the entertainment industry, that part was, just that, entertainment.
Right.
And entertainment for Black people, it can mean different things. If you're a good football player, that's okay. If you're a singer, a dancer, a rapper, a model, that's all fine. But one thing you cannot do is interfere with how this country is being run.
Right.
And that's what I started doing. And that's when the shit literally hit the fan. Excuse me,
well,
French.
I have a clip of the evening that the whole of the Netherlands held their breath, because this took place in the very famous talk show, that a daily talk show at the time. And this is you speaking truth to power.
Nou, ja, ik heb me niks kwalijk te nemen, want ik heb af en toe die zwartjes gewoon meegenomen van ze naar boven en naar beneden. En eigenlijk ben ik heel lief voor ze en ik heb ook omarmd met die jongen. Maar het is niet genoeg.
Mag ik wat vragen?
Ja.
Die term die je net gebruikt, is dat grappig bedoeld? Of
nee, dat is niet
bedoeld,
grappig bedoeld. Mijn vrouw is ook zwart en gewoon...
Dat is geen excuus, hè?
Ja, nee, maar hoe moet ik zeggen? Je moet me zeggen hoe ik moet zwart noemen.
Ik vraag aan jou met welke intentie je die term gebruikt.
Nee, die zwartjes natuurlijk, van zo praten we toch over zelfs. Weet je, wij zijn lief. Ik ben toch ook lief, ik heb omarmd.
Daarom vraag ik het.
Ja,
natuurlijk. Omdat ik jou ken en ervan uitga dat jij dat daarom doet.
Maar Sylvana wil liever niet dat je dat woord gebruikt.
Nou,
nee, ik vind het woord zwart...
Nee, maar wacht even, laat me over, want dat is nou niet belangrijk. Dat komt weer met Sinterklaas.
I can still feel it when I watch it.
So can I, to be honest. Yes.
Can I elaborate a little bit on the
go ahead.
situation in the
go
studio?
On. Yes.
The guy across the table was a well-known, I think, Olympic sportsman.
Tennis player.
He lives in Italy. There's refugees from the African continent entering Europe through the village where he lives. And he's telling this story about, how tragic that all is and how he's helping these people. And everybody's listening. It's quiet in the studio. It's quiet. Everybody's listening. And then he uses that word. And you know what? The silence gets even quieter. Can you imagine? And I'm sitting there thinking, as you can tell in the clip, I give him a few seconds because I'm having this conversation with myself thinking, do I speak up? What happens if I don't speak up? If I speak up, how should I speak up? What should I say? where to put my voice, lower my voice so people won't say I'm hysterical. This is all going through my mind, knowing. And what brought me to speaking up was the fact that I know my children are watching. And I tell my children, it is your privilege, but also your duty, your job, to ask questions when needed, and to when you see injustice being done, it is your job, your duty, and also your privilege to go in against it. So I was sitting there thinking, if I don't say anything right now, then what type of a mother am I?
Right.
Knowing
So you spoke out because of your children.
Absolutely, because of motherhood. Because I really thought that, it was another component that said to myself, if I don't speak up, being in the privileged position that I am, in a live broadcast, being Sylvana Simons, the most well-known Black woman in this country, if I don't speak up, how are people who do not have that platform, who maybe are at their workplace and their boss says something and, it's their boss, they're dependent, how are they ever going to speak up? I have this responsibility to say something. So I did, and it changed my life. It
cost you, and it brought you a lot. So what it cost you is that I call them the hounds. The hounds pounced on you and wanted a piece of you and literally wanted you dead. You got death threats, you got rape threats, you got people at your door, you got people throwing stuff on your windows, people following you, people pulling at you, people just scolding you in the street. I can go on and on and on. How did you deal with that, Sil? How do you deal with it?
Maybe the honest answer is I don't even know. But what I did realize was that it was just the other side of the same coin. And I've always...
Which coin?
The coin of fame that I've had. I've been, before that evening, I've been hailed and praised, and I was popular and everybody loved me. And I've always realized that people don't love me, they don't know me. So when people started hating me, my thought was exactly the same thing. They don't hate me, they don't know me. What they either love or hate is the image they see of me and, their association with that. And I also realized that being hated is not a high price to pay for truth, because all of my heroes were hated at some point in their life. MLK was hated, Malcolm was hated, Nelson was hated. All of them were hated.
So do you mean to say that by being hated or this emotion that people call hating you, is this just that you come too close to the truth and they can't handle it? That's what I've been thinking.
People only use violence. Well, yeah, only use violence when they feel hurt or
scared.
Thank you. So it had to be either that. And the reason they felt that way is because I addressed something that is not to be addressed in this country, and that is racism.
Right.
It is not to be addressed. It does not exist. If you went to school here like I did, then you will know that we are being taught a self-image that says we're the most tolerant, most loving, most progressive, basically the best country in the world, and this is how we grow up. So obviously, I touched the nerve.
You did. And what you also did is catch the attention of journalists worldwide, because this is the time when they started coming to the Netherlands to interview you, as happened in this particular program. On Euronews, James Franey asking you about this very specific thing, this Zwarte Piet, Sinterklaas, racism in the Netherlands story. Let's have a look at James Franey and you. And by the way, your hair looked great that day.
I've had of the Netherlands is that the Dutch people are very straight talking. They're all for freedom of speech. But it seems that you're saying that they weren't even willing to think about this. I'm just curious as to why that was.
One of the reasons is the Dutch are now being confronted with a part of their identity that they don't want to be confronted with. And if you grow up thinking that you're, and I'm not joking, that I think a lot of Dutch people think they are incapable of racism. So if this is your belief, and now somebody addresses a racist character in a children's party, or they address the common use of racist language, or the non-diversity of Dutch media, it becomes very personal, because you're under the impression that this is impossible.
What kind of price have you paid for making these kind of declarations?
There was a point where, on a daily basis, I would receive these threats and other forms of violence, because people always tend to go, "Oh wow, death threats. Yeah, that's serious." But it's also serious when people describe in detail how they would like to rape you, for instance. I mean, the sexism and the racism that I've encountered, I can't even describe it to you.
Yeah. And still people had a hard time understanding what was going on here.
Yeah. And it's very emotional for me to watch this clip again. But I do think still people for a very long time thought they were just not capable of racism.
So where does this idea come from, Sil?
It comes from the school books, and it comes from the curriculum, and it comes from the media, and it comes from the government. It comes from every single outlet telling you, no, not us. It happens over there. It happens over there, but not here. We're the best. We're the greatest. We don't do that. Funny, and I do understand where that image, the need for that image comes from, because funnily enough, the best known Dutch word worldwide is apartheid. And it's the only Dutch word everybody in the world knows. So, when you have to defend a system you once implemented for capitalist and imperialist gain, then obviously you're going to deny. Denial is the strongest tool as human beings have to survival.
Yes, but this I can understand in positions of power. But this, talk about trickle-down effect. I mean, this is, even infants seem to have this idea that they are at the center of the universe and everything else is just outside and needs to behave to be able to allow it in.
It's very Dutch, and it's only logical when Zwarte Piet is introduced to you when you're a baby, and it becomes normal. So this was also the hard thing for the Dutch. It was very emotional, because it wasn't only about the blackface, the paint. No, it was about their childhood. We all have memories of, way back when life was sweet and we didn't have any problems. So it's all melancholic. So I really touched a nerve in the Dutch identity. And it wasn't just me. I have to say this. I wasn't the first, and it wasn't just me. I drew strength and courage from other people who'd been doing it long before me. So I really have to give, props to those people, because it wasn't me.
Definitely.
But I was the one with the stage and the voice.
Exactly. You were the one in the limelight, and this is why your head just had to roll, is what people were thinking. Another newsroom that was baffled by whatever's going on in the Netherlands, they came out to talk to you, and this was I believe this was right before the elections. And to be honest, Sylvana, I'm a little bit jealous, because here you are being a guest on BBC Newsnight.
I think this country is hurting right now. It's in pain.
This is Sylvana Simons, a Dutch celebrity who recently launched her own political party. She thinks the unrest exposed an undercurrent of resentment across generations.
What we're seeing right now is just this country reaping what it has sowed. The Netherlands have always projected an image which I call a facade of being reasonable, of being progressive and tolerant and open. But what it really was, it was just on the surface. If your education system is not working, then this is what you get. If your economic system is not working, then this is what you get. If your social system isn't working, this is what you get. And if you've been pushing politics of division for 15 years, 20 years, then this is what you get.
And there you are.
Stand by those words still.
You stand by those words. And well, as we were saying, you did make it to Parliament. I know many people are disgusted by the idea, but many more are really happy with it. And And what was your first day in Parliament, Sil?
Wow.
Because I think the elections were the 17th of March.
They were the 17th of March.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, really, we weren't sure about the seat, yes or no, but we got the seat, went to Parliament next day, and immediately we had to do a debate about our Prime Minister, who is a failing Prime Minister, basically, because, you know, I spoke about the politics of division for 15, 20 years. So the first debate we had was about another lie our PM had told us.
Yes, our Prime Minister has a really bad memory. He very selectively forgets stuff, right?
So my first debate was a 14-hour debate, debating about whether he could stay or not. It was like, you know, we entered the room and there we went.
Yeah. We were all watching it live until, once again, 3 a.m. It was a riveting night. He survived. I mean, Parliament did not kick him out. What would you say is his talent?
His talent, basically, and I'm going to just say this, he's a narcissist and he doesn't feel. Narcissists don't empathize. So the power that he holds as a prime minister, this is a man who decided at an early age, the same way I decided to become a dancer, to become a performer. This is the same way he decided to become prime minister. So this is his life. This is his identity. This is what he is. So clinging to power is clinging to life for this man. Yeah. And I have to explain to people that on a personal level, I do not hate anybody. I do not hate him. But as a leader, as a political leader, I see the damage being done to the country, being done to my generation, future generations, and I worry about that. Yes. So when we have somebody who's hungry for power and it does not exist without it, you know, this is his talent. He will do anything to keep it. That's what he's doing. Because
he's been the PM for over 10 years now. This is his 4th term.
Yeah, and 3 of his cabinets fell.
Exactly.
Did I get anything?
I think you did. No. Yeah, I think you did. Yes.
So, they fell. He's not the best leader, but he has the most people in this country believing that if he's not the leader, we will be lost. So people think, well, you know how would I compare it to a lot? I compare it to unhealthy, toxic relationships. And I've told him this in chamber. Number one, he's like that boyfriend that cheats on you every single time, again and again. And after the 10th time, you say, you know what, go. And he's like, no, I'll better my life. Please give me one more chance. That's number one. And number two is I compare it to a toxic relationship because I'm familiar with how that works. So people will stay in an environment that is not good for them, but that is familiar to them, rather than have the courage to choose what they don't know. And they will use the excuse of, well, but at least, you know, at least we know what we got.
Right.
So this is I think the hold that he has on the country, but more so on Parliament. More so in a political way. And
is he intimidating in any way in Parliament?
Not to me.
No.
Because I know the type.
Right.
But I think that a lot of people have a false sense of leadership. So with that false sense of leadership, he may come across as a good leader.
Yes.
I think that true leadership is also about vulnerability. And it's about honesty and truth, and it's about solidarity and work and companionship and not companionship but cooperation. And working together. So I just have a very different view on leadership.
Yeah, well, as a spectator, because I like many other people watch a lot of debates these days. As a spectator, a couple of things have occurred to me. For one, the number of times that he tells you specifically that things aren't so black and white. He's done that more than 2 times. He seems to forget your name at every turn. And he certainly doesn't like you. Last week you went viral. Even your haters had to come out and say, you know what, we don't really like Sylvana, but what she did today was great. We'll talk about that in a bit, but first let's just watch it. This is you, total newbie in Parliament, getting under the skin of this prime minister who's been the boss of the Netherlands for over 10 years. Let's have a look.
Immuniteit, voorzitter, want er treedt per ongeluk immuniteit op als veel mensen het krijgen. Wat weten we daarover? Wat weten we van die immuniteit? Ik heb corona gehad, ik weet niet of ik immuun ben. Hoe zou ik dat kunnen weten? En wat vindt u van de mededeling die de heer Dassen zojuist ook deed over het feit dat we nu zeer nabij in België casussen hebben van mensen die weliswaar gevaccineerd waren, maar toch besmet zijn geraakt. Dus ik ben eigenlijk benieuwd, hoe gaat het met de immuniteit in ons land?
Nou, het eerste ben ik geen deskundige op, maar misschien kan Hugo de Jonge, heb jij die cijfers paraat op dit moment? Hoeveel mensen we denken het gehad hebben? 4 miljoen, dat is het laatste cijfer wat we vermoeden, dat 4 miljoen mensen het gehad hebben. En er zijn dan zo'n 5 miljoen mensen die het eerste prik hebben, dus dan zou je 9 miljoen mensen hebben inmiddels die immuun zijn.
5 miljoen prikken. Als ik het goed begrijp, voorzitter, je hebt het gehad en dan ben je immuun.
Ja, dat weten we niet zeker. Maar ja, dat lijkt me een vraag voor Van Dissel, voorzitter. Daar ga ik me niet aan wagen.
Omdat er net even een som werd gemaakt over zoveel mensen hebben het gehad, zoveel mensen zijn gevaccineerd, dus zoveel mensen zijn immuun.
Wat doet u geïrriteerd, mevrouw Simons?
Sorry, u denkt dat ik geïrriteerd ben?
Ja,
u moet me eens meemaken als ik geïrriteerd ben. Geen
nou, dan ben ik heel benieuwd hoe u dan bent.
That made my day, made my week, made everybody's day and week. What exactly happened there? What exactly why is he calling you an angry black woman, Sylvana Simons?
Definitely, out loud for the whole nation to see, and he couldn't even help himself. This was maybe 2 or 3 weeks into Parliament. I've never been into Parliament. I am not a politician from, I wasn't trained to be a politician. I'm just here to ask silly questions because I know, just like me, a lot of us have silly questions.
Yeah.
So this is, again, what my dad was talking about when, the world treats you a little bit different. Because if I had been a middle-aged white man, I'm a middle-aged black woman, but if I was a middle-aged white man, then I'm so sure he wouldn't have said this to me. And the thing was, it was a slip. He couldn't help himself because there was, when you use this trick and the person you use it against is slightly irritated, it might work. But I was standing there bright and happy.
Looking radiant as usual.
So this is his weakness, and this is because I am not intimidated by him, and he knows it. He feels it. He doesn't have any grip on me. He doesn't have any dirt on me. I have never worked with him on some motion or political idea that he has nothing on me. I'm completely independent, and this is all he had. So this shows me his weakness. And it's funny because every time he talks to me like I'm a little bit, what's the word?
A moron. Or
that's
at least
not a nice word, but yeah.
Or you're right. He treats you like a mosquito. He wants to just swat you away.
It's
And
like, well, let me explain it to you then.
Yes.
And I have to tell you all that I'm happy with that because as long as he underestimates me, as long as I make him feel uncomfortable, and as long as that's as long as he will actually listen to me. And I have a funny thing to share with you because yesterday I supported a bill that asks him to leave Parliament. And while he was fighting the bill, I did so during my contribution. And after my contribution, because it was my maiden speech, everybody had to come and congratulate me. So while he was congratulating me, he was like, maybe we should do some coffee and get to know each other better. I said, oh, what a great idea. And then he said, well, that's if I survive the bill. And I said, well, I ain't vouching for you. I ain't holding my breath for you because as far as I'm concerned, your time is up.
Yeah.
And I don't think this man is used to people talking to him like this.
No, the bill did not pass, did it?
It did not.
No. Well, we didn't really expect it to pass, but at least, it made for a couple of really adventurous hours, so to speak, in Parliament, which took all night, as we were saying at the beginning of the program. Just to sketch for the viewers, is there any anything politically speaking that you and the biggest party in the Netherlands have in common, or is that just you in the opposition and the two shall never meet?
I don't think we shall ever meet. I have to make a distinguished separation between the party and the people in the party, because there's people in the party that I can work with, and we will probably work on some bills together. I mean, but I don't see it happening, but it could happen. But when it comes to this type of leadership and the road that this type of politics have been taking us, because I also hold him accountable for the growth of the far right in this country. There's people, poverty has risen, homelessness has risen, schools are in trouble. Basically, you call a social domain, it's in trouble.
Corona.
The only group not in trouble are the multinationals and the super wealthy. They're doing fine. So
and everybody else is in a jab at the moment. Yeah, right. Well, as we said, these little things that we've been showing have made your haters suddenly love you. How do you feel about that, Sylvana? People like, let's not name names, let's not give them the credits, but people suddenly writing their little columns in the newspaper saying how fantastic you are and you're such an example to Dutch society. How do you feel about that?
The thing that gets me the most about that is how they say that I've changed my tune. So whenever somebody says I've changed my tune, I now know that your praise is not really worth that much to me, because I have not changed. I think, in fact, I've become more and more radical in my politics, because I've become more and more secure of who I am and my role in this whole game. But so I always say what I said before. It's another side of the same coin. I've always told myself and everybody I teach or preach, I say, do not believe the hype, especially if you are the hype. And right now I am the hype. So I've been elected. I have 4 years to prove myself, but I also have 4 years to mess it up completely. We will not know the state of my popularity or the party's popularity until the next elections.
Well,
that's
so far so good. You must agree with me, right? Things are going hunky-dory.
I'm really happy, but I think what my focus is becoming the best PM I can be.
MP. Yeah. This is, we're Dutch. You made a little slip of the tongue. Becoming the best MP. Yes, member of parliament. Yes,
and grow into that role, grow into my leadership, and prove myself every day to the people that elected me as I am. I've been chosen to serve them, and that's what I'm doing.
And once again, for those people, those naysayers in your life who have been saying that you are a one-issue party, please correct them now. This is your chance. Tell me what your party Bijeen is about.
My party is about nothing else but justice and equality for everybody, to create a society that works for all of us based on those values. And that does mean that sometimes we have to emphasize on Black society. Sometimes we emphasize on people with disabilities. Sometimes we emphasize on feminist issues. Sometimes we emphasize on different groups. We speak a very clear language, but this is also functional. This is what we have to do to get to where we're going. But the party, the thing that makes me most proud of my party absolutely is the intrinsic diversity. There's a natural diversity in the party. It's not something we have to really look hard for and find people and bring people together. People are drawn by the profoundness of finding a place where you are okay regardless. We do not care about anything but your soul.
Yeah,
just come with your heart.
And this turns out to be everybody except those who have been in power for centuries.
Yes,
everybody's looking for their place in society, and you're picking up the pieces for those people and representing them.
I definitely hope so, because I think that's the most important thing every human being has in common. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to feel that there's somebody out there caring for us. That's it. That's the soul basics. Then we have food and shelter and all of that, which is also important. But I think that being validated in just being, I think that's the biggest gift.
So I guess maybe you're more like your mother than you were saying at the start. Here is you caring for the entire world.
Maybe I am actually. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last little picture. We have to touch on this. About a year ago, your life took another big change, and the change is called Nalia.
Oh, thank you for sharing this. This is actually this is a picture that I drew of the moment she was born.
You started drawing in Corona times because we were all locked down, and there you suddenly turned out to be a wonderful artist. My goodness,
Yeah.
the stuff you make. So
thank you. I didn't
yes.
know. I started a bit before that because I fell ill, and my doctor said find something that relaxes you but that does not require any activity. And for my whole life I grew up thinking I don't know how to draw, and my mom knows how to draw beautifully, but I just started, and it turned out that well, it's something I do know how to do. And this is the moment my granddaughter was born. She is definitely the love of my life.
She is so cute, but I did not want to put a picture up because of her privacy. But I thought this would be okay. But
well, this was exactly why I drew it, because this was the moment she was born, and I do sometimes share pictures of her, and I always ask permission from her parents.
Yeah.
But I do also realize that pretty soon I'm going to have to stop with that, because she's going to be a real a little person now. She's just a cute little baby, but when
she's very cute.
She is. You know what I like about her? She was born with, everybody's born with character, but I'm fascinated by seeing everybody in the family, our family, her dad's family, coming together in her.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And then watching her develop, it's a whole different ballgame from when you're the parent and you have 24/7 care. But now I can just sit back and watch her and just be proud of her, I don't know, eating something.
But she's a handful. I can tell by looking at her face that she's got this character. She's got this strength.
When she was born, the nurse said, "Ooh, we've got one." And then the second thing that people started saying is, "Sylvana." My daughter said, "Mom, she kind of looks like you."
She does.
She reminds me of you.
Yes,
and
she does.
I don't see it all the time. I see it sometimes, but I hope so.
Just wait till she's 14 and runs away from home and starts doing her own thing, because
then she can come and stay with grandma, and grandma.
Of course she can. Of course she can. Quick look in the comment section here, because my eyes fell on something. Else is saying she's never been more happy with her vote than now. She is so proud. Now, Else is somebody we need to all care about. She has these underlying health issues, and Corona really terrified her.
Oh, wow.
And she's still going strong. Else, good girl. And I know you voted for Sylvana, and I'm glad to say yes that you're happy. And Charlotte is asking a really ludicrous question. Charlotte, any chance you'll be able to vote for me one day? I don't think you want that. I don't think it's good for me. I don't think it's good for the world. Let me just talk to the people who do that work.
Charlotte,
and
I will sleep on it.
You will sleep on it. Yeah. No, I was asked by 2 parties in the past if I wanted to join them. I told them, no, you don't really want
I
that.
really understand that decision, though, because everybody who says to me that, they're not sure, or they don't think they are fit for this, I really do understand. It's not an easy job, and it's not easy to give up your life like this, because it's a 24/7 job, and not everybody's gonna love you.
And you need to be diplomatic if you want to get things done. And you know me, Sil, I am not diplomatic.
You need to be able to ask those type of questions with a smile, like Rutte just did, and you need to be able to answer with a smile while internally you're like, let's not say these words,
You know me, I'm incapable of that.
You're too true. Too true.
Too true. Yes, exactly. Oh gosh, look at the time, Sil. I think we've covered all that I wanted to ask, but of course I'm going to let you say something that I didn't ask you.
I want to thank you because you put so much work and effort into it, and it was so much fun for me as well. I turned 50 this year, so when you take me on a trip to memory lane, that feels so good, and it makes me feel proud, grateful to have this opportunity to talk also on an international platform, because I am not a modest person. I know the value of I'm not a modest person. Let me put it differently. I am not too modest to acknowledge the fact that this story, not necessarily my story, but the story of our political revolution, because that's what it is, I think it deserves a broader platform. So I hope we've touched the hearts of people watching and gave them a little insight into this country that is still viewed in a certain way across the world. People think I hate the country. I do not hate this country. I live here, love here, love this country. But it's because I want the best for the country that I do and say what I do and say. So I just want to thank you and really appreciate all the efforts you put into finding the clips and the pictures and well, you've told my story, and I think that's something to be grateful for.
Well, it was my big pleasure, and I'd like to thank people behind the scenes at your party, bijeen, which incidentally means together. I have to say, Charlie, thank you. I have to say, Manus, thank you, because those people were, yes, they've been working to get me clips and get me info,
They love surprising me, and for some reason they love going behind my back.
I know, but that's what they're for. So you focus on what you do, and they have your back and make sure that things like this can happen. So I have to say thank you to both of them for helping me out with this. Sylvana, I have let me first tell the viewers that next month, and that will be on the 28th of May, my next guest will be all the way in Taiwan, Anthony Carlisle, who I met while I was preparing for the Global Women's Conference that I moderated in Taiwan. In 2019, and Anthony Carlisle was my counterpart, and he's going to be my guest next month. That's the one thing I want to say. And you're going to watch, yeah. And we're going to go out with a little surprise. I'm not sure you'll like it, and I'm not sure anybody will like it, because this is going to stick to our heads for the coming 17 days. This is you in your little in the hit parades, together with the magnificent
that is funny. I like it.
The four ladies who ran television, pop music in the 90s, and you had this little clip. We're going to play out with that, Sylvana. Thank you so very much for being my guest.
Thank you, Ollie. Thank you for thank you.
Thank you. Stay in the room so we can round up, but I'm going to start the clip now. And to you and to all the viewers and to everybody watching, my last words are: be good, be nice, stay safe. We're out of here.